let's just breeze through it, because my first goal is to like breeze through it and see kind of like catch the big things first, and then like work on the details.
I generally like this way of presenting it because the Hebrew way of presenting stuff is like there's two ways basically. If we were to it's really continuum, but let's take the two ends of the extremes on how to excavate a topic. One is by excavating real deep on one end and just digging all the way to the bottom of the issue and moving across until you've wiped out the whole issue. And that doesn't work real well because the information it doesn't have a framework to put it into. So it's better to excavate a layer off the top and you go over it again, excavate a little deeper and over again, and periodically drill down a little bit when you need to. That's the
exactly. Okay, good.
So now we can start again.
Okay. So narratives. Oh, all right. So define common themes and terms. So these are terms that I use in my project that the person has to be familiar with in order for the system to make sense to them. So narratives, and it's kind of like the story that we live by, or kind of like how we dictate our lives sometimes. And in our theology classes, we learned that we cannot live without a narrative, right?
Yeah.
In my primary project, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Right.
I don't necessarily agree with it either.
Yeah. Okay. And so in the secondary project, there's this process that you have to be able to practice is breaking narratives, right?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be continuous practice, so that So what that means is that you're continuously breaking away from a narrative, like every narrative that your mind comes up with to justify the state that you're in or what you can do in your limits. And the reason I say this is because, and the reason why it's important to break the narratives is because narratives, they give you a story and they limit you.
Yeah.
They limit your options.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And this is the thing that's so funny. Nowadays everyone likes to talk about narrative, and I think part of it is they think that it's sort of a PC way in the realm of theology to work with a particular religion and try to ascribe value to it without, in their view, in any way lessening the regard for another religion by saying it's any less true. Instead, we just talk about narratives. Well, in my view, there's only one way to live the love of truth, and that is to examine every idea in light of its competitors without exclusion. What that means is people are wrong about things and right about things. And we'll look at something and we'll find value in it because we agree with this and we agree with that, but we disagree with that and that. And I'm okay with that. I think that's necessary. So I'm not trying to just say, well, we're just different narratives. I am not really attached to some kind of cultural inheritance of my Christian narrative.
Yeah.
I'm interested in truth. And if there's truth in it, then I'm interested in that.
Yeah. Yes, I'm the same way. All right, so accept something as eternal. Accept something as eternal and accept it as part of your identity. And the reason why this is kind of like a, what should I call it?
I think it was off camera for a little bit.
No,
I was backing up too much. Scoot up here.
The reason why this is an important, what should I call it? Kind of like a procedure to accept something as eternal is because when you accept something as eternal, you're no longer trying to run away from it. Right?
Yeah.
Accept something as part of your identity. Yeah, the same thing. So,
right.
So if you accept something that way, in that way, you're no longer trying to run away from it.
Right.
And that will be relevant in when I go over the rest of the elements, the 10 elements that I developed. But for now, just kind of define it. Exhaustive nature of reality. And by this I want to say that nature is a comprehensive, unified experience.
Yes.
Reality is a comprehensive and unified experience. And what I mean by that is that, and this may sound weird, I don't know if you'll agree with this or to what extent, but for my primary project, I've established that everything that can happen, and even that which can't happen, is happening all the time, everywhere, and in every way.
Sounds like multiverses. I mean, I know there's one view, and this partly has to do with the understanding of what time is, but it's sort of like there's a universe where everything's identical to this one up until the point where I said the last word.
Yes.
Conversation took a different course from that point. And there's another universe where everything was identical to this one, except the last word I just said right now, conversation takes a different point. I can just keep going and going with that.
So infinite number of universes, like everything that you can imagine. There's a universe where we are multiplied millions of times, and instead of space we have Daniels and Jimmys. Or whatever.
Right.
Anyways.
So is that what you mean?
Yes, but everything is collapsed.
What does that mean?
I feel like when we talk about multiple universes, there's always like this division, right?
Well, it definitely is when it comes to some of the philosophy of time. I mean, there are people in philosophy of science that deal with this, but there's, I think, a lot of physicists who they're attracted to the sexiness of just saying bizarre, popular ideas. Like causation working backwards in time, and people just accept it because they're like, wow, these guys are smart, and it's math, and but from other conversations, that I'm what they call an open theist. So I have a particular view of time that I'm not somebody who believes that everything is actually some form of actuality. I believe there's possibilities, and that are, as we in the terminology, unsettled. Like, for example, my free choice. I could really go one way or the other. And I believe there are things that are settled, that are not open, so to speak. That means no two ways about it. This is the way it is. This is things are going to be a particular way. Maybe we have to make a general category. So, for example, as a Christian, I can say Jesus will come again. No two ways about it. That on the other hand, who's going to comprise his kingdom? Well, there's possibility this guy, possibility that guy. It's not. That will make a Calvinist mad for me to say that, right? Now, that's using there's of course a secular philosophical analogy to all this, but it suffices to give a Christian example. So that idea of believing in possibilities is a little different than somebody who says, well, a possibility in your universe is an actuality in somebody else's. That's a little bit different view.
And as far as my primary project, what I'm trying to say is that everything is an actuality in this universe. I mean, all universes are in the same spot.
Like they're not separated from each other, type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of like collapse.
Yeah. So. Like I could go from this one to another one. I could maybe travel to another one.
And you are doing it constantly right now.
Oh.
It's already happening.
Okay.
Which is why we can move forward in time.
Okay.
And which is why we can choose what decision we want to make.
Okay.
Whether we want to drink water or hot chocolate.
Okay. So there's a Hinduism, which says that time is sort of like, could make an analogy of like, let's say if I had a series of like these blocks connected together, and it's sort of like, looks like a spinning motion. And then if we move along with our perception, just looking at a slice of it, it's almost like one of those little flip books. We see motion.
Yeah.
But in reality, there's some physical reality that's the past, and it's just as real as the future. This is sort of a... It sounds a little bit like what you're saying, except for the fact that you believe in real possibilities, right? So that means that you believe that maybe the road is not a single road, but like a branching road or something that we travel on?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I take, let's say, a left, is that stuff over there still actual?
But we're just ignoring it.
Okay, so what about... So are you saying that, like, in the other universe... You know, I took a left, but if I take a right, okay, over there, there's me doing, you know, backflips right here in front of the camera, but I didn't choose that. So is that real?
Yes.
It is real?
Yes. And you are doing backflips.
Over there?
Yes.
Okay. What constitutes me making this choice, coming this way? Could we say, well, everybody in all those branches all made the choice to go the way they did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's weird.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit more like what I was hearing Michio Kaku saying a while back when he was talking about multiverses.
Okay.
So there's a universe where Elvis is alive.
Yeah. So I mean, but what I'm trying to say is that Elvis is alive right now, and he's here with us, and he's probably talking right there.
Well, when you say here with us. So you said right there, so like you see sort of like a spatial, there's like some kind of dimensional difference though?
Yes. No?
No?
No.
Because you say he's probably right there.
So collapse. Remember the collapse?
You're right.
Collapse thing.
How could I get to that universe? You were saying before that I could.
Yes, you can.
Oh, but only by choices.
There's
so like I missed my chance already.
That's something. No. You haven't missed your chance.
I haven't missed it.
You can still do it. You can still do it.
Yeah. I'm more interested in meeting Bruce Lee than Elvis.
But yeah, so that's where practicality comes in, right?
Okay.
So again, so believe in its possibility, right? So that gets you into the mindset that it is there, right? Because you have to believe in this possibility. Well, this is why it's so important that you understand reality as a comprehensive, unified experience, right? Comprehensive as there's everything, and unified as in everything is one thing. Or everything is in one place, like everything is everything, or one thing is everything, right? And so yeah, you meeting Bruce Lee right here, right now.
Yeah.
First, you have to cognize your goal. That's your goal. Believe in its possibility. Believe that you can actually meet, and then become aware of the signs that indicate that Bruce Lee is here. In what way? And if you want it to be physical, you have to become aware of the signs that Bruce Lee's existence is physical here right now. Right. Okay. And then you would have to reinforce that, and kind of like a rinse, wash, and repeat, reinforce, and eventually you would see a physical version of Bruce Lee there somewhere. And that gets a little weird, but as we go through the project, and then you incorporate that into your world, as in like, and then after you see Bruce Lee, you would probably go out into the world and say, I saw Bruce Lee, and then you would take him to other people, and maybe other people would think you're crazy.
Because they wouldn't be able to see him?
Maybe, unless you travel to a universe in which Bruce Lee was actually there, or you would have to, not travel to a universe, but like travel to that dimension, or like get in tune with that dimension.
Tuned. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is the type of thing sort of where I can get in tune with stuff other people doesn't see because I'm in tune.
Yeah. And then, but when you get in tune with that world, you would be able to be in that world where Bruce Lee exists and everybody can see him.
So to those people, okay, if there's already a me in that world, and I go there, the two of me, like, we can interact.
It depends on your level. It depends on whether you're ignoring this world or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I have to ignore this world to interact, or no?
No.
Okay.
You don't have to. But
okay.
it would take. I assume, I don't know. I haven't done it.
Yeah.
But it would definitely take extra mental effort to be in both worlds. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, so reality as a comprehensive, unified experience. Do you understand what it means now, right?
A little bit.
Okay.
It's going to take a few more sessions for me to totally wrap my mind around your proposal here.
Yeah. So
But,
everything happens all the time, everywhere. Everything that can happen is happening everywhere all the time, and it's all happening right now, in every moment, and it's all in the present. The past is in the present. The future is in the present. All the possibilities are in the present, right here, right now. So that's kind of one thing.
Okay.
Realm of possibility. Basically, what realm of possibility means is like the things that you think are possible or impossible, right? Like you expect like a bunch of military people just like jamming through the door. Is that in your realm of possibility?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. or like you being able to I don't know. Eat the whole refrigerator. Is that in your realm of possibility?
Possible is not, very likely.
Okay. Yeah,
Probably-
but it's possible.
I'll probably choose not to unless,
Okay.
I discover some compelling reasons.
Yes. Okay. So that's kind of in your realm of possibility.
I'm up to the task
Yeah.
if I need to.
So realm of possibility. What's in your realm of possibility is like what you expect yourself to be able to do.
Yeah.
And then increasing your realm of possibility. This is something that's important as far as practicality, because sometimes you think that things are impossible for you, and so you have to increase your realm of possibility in order to include those options to yourself.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And you increase your realm of possibility through awareness, inspiration. Like when you're inspired to do something, sometimes you're lazy, and you don't feel like doing anything. So in order for you to be inspired, you have to become more aware of possibilities. So that's kind of like a trigger. Yeah.
Quick question.
Yes.
So far, what I'm hearing sounds like I could probably apply this without adhering to your idea of the kind of.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's accurate for me to say multiverse, but this thing we talked about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Comprehensive unified experience. Yeah. Of course. And like I said, there's a lot of this stuff that you can apply without believing.
Now, there is another way in which I believe that everything is all connected and unified. You've maybe heard the metaphor of Indra's Net, where the metaphor is that there's this infinite net, and at the junctures in this net, there are diamonds, and every diamond is reflecting every other diamond. So if you remove one diamond, you've changed all of them.
Yes.
So this is the metaphor of Indra's net of interconnectedness.
Yeah.
How that everything is really interconnected.
Yeah.
So there is a sense in which I believe everything is a
Yeah.
unity.
Where's Indra's Net?
Oh, you can.
It's a concept in what from
Some of the
except it's
different.
Hindu, right?
Yeah. Not in not just Hindu. Matter of fact, the when I say not just Hindu, I'm now switching to Western vernacular. In the West, we say Jainism and Buddhism are two separate religions from Hinduism. Hindus don't view it that way. They will talk about Astika schools and Nastika schools, meaning Orthodox and unorthodox, based on whether they regard the Vedas in a certain way. And Buddhism is a Nastika school. It's not orthodox, but it's considered. If you take a course at some Hindu college on the darshans or the schools, means views, right? In Hinduism, they'll have Buddhism and Jainism in there. So, in Jainism, and I think even in some Buddhist works, you'll have reference to Indra's Net. So,
Cool.
These guys were in a lot of dialogue,
Yeah.
stuff got around.
And I think why the comprehensive unified experience, why I put it like that is because sometimes I see like space as a concept of the mind, right? So space is an illusion, and that's why I collapse everything into one thing. Space and also time and also like different possibilities of reality. Those are all in the mind somehow, right? So that's why.
I see. So it sounds like we have some potential for a lot of fruitful discussion.
Yeah.
See, this is what's so interesting. I got to get you. I know you've heard me the last few times we've talked over the years. Talk a lot about what a goldmine I found Hindu philosophy to be.
Yeah.
Because really we call it Indian philosophy, because the word Hindu is, this may be news for you folks, but it was refers to the Hindus or Indus Valley. It was just originally a term to differentiate the invader religions from the native religions. It didn't in any way identify that there was some continuity. Like, we're in the habit of envisioning, well, yes, there's different kinds of Hindus, right? There's like denominations in Christianity.
Yeah.
Well, in Christianity, are there any denominations that don't believe in God, that don't believe in the Bible? Probably not.
Right.
In Hinduism, you have a bunch of atheistic schools of thought, in fact. You have polytheistic, you have monotheistic, and you have monistic, and you have people that believe in the soul, don't believe in the soul. Every possible concept. People who don't believe in causation, like Hume. India is a big place, and in the history of philosophy, if you look at Europe, Europe's really not as big as oftentimes it seems to us in our minds. When we look at a map, we're like, yeah, that's a little small place. So when we look at the history of philosophy, you take a course in the history of philosophy, they'll start with the pre-Socratics, and they'll go on up through to Europe, and then eventually include America. And they'll totally exclude, maybe with just slight references. You get the Schopenhauer and Hegel, and some of these people make references to some Hindu philosophy, so you get a little bit of reference to it, But actually, Indian philosophy started the pre-Socratics. We have historical evidence for that now. It's like conclusive, I'll say, during the time of the Persian Empire. But I've got a rich history of interaction. Some of it wasn't nice. Some of it was. Some of these guys will argue for 3 days, and then the loser just becomes a disciple of the winner.
Yeah.
And they've got lists of logical fallacies that include all the Greek ones and extra ones. And I'm specifically thinking of the Nyaya school, which means a logic school. Some of the Buddhists have done some great stuff compiling lists of logical fallacies and formulas for debating that, rules that they go by and so forth. So there's a lot of discussion between people who talk about stuff like whether time and space is an attribute of the mind, or whether it has an existence outside it, and these type of things. There's just so much. But one of the things that we have to do, though, when we're researching Indian philosophy, is also look for things in kind of seed form, because sometimes when you have a lot of history take place, you have a lot of literature that's lost, and so what you have is some statement made that, if you think about it and unpack it, it has implications, even though it's not the full-on propositional, all the arguments, and pros and cons and all that. And so you go, oh, well, that's interesting. Here's somebody who, it seems, had these viewpoints. And so then you're kind of dealing with something sparse, but it's food for the mind for people like us who are wanting to build and come to some truth.
Yes.
So anyway, that's my 2 cents here. 3, 4, 5 cents on
Indian philosophy.
Yeah.
All right. So inspiration is born of awareness. So for you to be inspired, you have to practice awareness. Enjoyment, realization as a sign of progress. And this one I developed because I always see stress as a sign of progress.
Okay.
Because and that was a problem for me, right? So if I wasn't stressed out, I felt like I wasn't doing anything. I felt like I wasn't doing enough, right?
Okay.
So I had to like figure something out and be like, no, this isn't good, or the more I stress myself out, the better. It's like I feel like I should be the most stressed out all the time. Right?
I relate to you, because it's like in Western society, probably all over the world now. I can't just say Western society. I know the society I grew up in. Especially being a kid who wasn't naturally scholastic and I was behind in schoolwork, and I would feel guilty for not focusing and gritting and trying, and so I would feel sort of like this sense of guilt when I was relaxing, like I shouldn't be relaxing, I should be stressing. I would in the morning, I would, in my muddled dream state, I would hear my alarm clock go off, and I would think to myself, well, how about I just try to I'll just I'll just strain at the math right now here in bed instead of, getting out and doing it,
Yeah. Okay, so one of the things that I had to develop because of that is the realization that enjoyment is a sign of progress, not stress. Stress is not a sign of progress. Enjoyment is a sign of progress.
Preach.
So and you can put yourself in stressful situations, but you won't have any progress unless you learn to enjoy it, unless you learn to relax in those situations.
It's a super fundamental philosophical shift, and the thing that troubles me the most, I've said this to people before, and they disagreed with me, and I can tell it's not hitting home.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this is radical. You haven't, if this doesn't strike you as radical, you haven't recognized,
Yeah.
because it's the huge shift to give yourself permission, to recognize, because maybe you're not recognizing you're not giving yourself permission. Maybe, we learn, for example, we learn to kick ourselves when we mess up.
Exactly.
You mess up again, you double kick yourself.
Yes, that's another thing that I have
So
to deal with.
you're punishing yourself to make yourself better.
And then you're punishing yourself for punishing yourself.
Yeah, right. And matter of fact, I look at some of these people, it's so sad to me. Some people, they love martial arts, and they start getting a chance to do it for a living. And no more enjoyment. Because I gotta push myself, and then it's like they lose. It's the end of the world. It's worse than death, so they fear losing, they're not enjoying it.
Yeah.
They just.
And it's like if you would be able to face the end of the world, the actual end of the world, and be relaxed.
Yeah.
That would be progress.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, a lot of people they feel like they need that to push themselves. That fear of failure and that, this kind of stuff. But in reality, that'll just get in the way of optimum performance. If you picture optimum performance,
there's no pain involved.
Yeah. For example, this is the analogy that's come to my mind from way back when I recognized this concept. Let's say that my life depended upon being able to jump across a chasm. It was so wide that I could very barely do it, but I could. Now, I have to be able to run as fast as I can and still place my foot at the very edge when I leap. And there's risk involved in that. That's got to be precise. If I jump too soon, I won't make it to the other side. If I step too far, I will just fall off.
Yeah.
Right? Fear would distract me. For me to be able to perform that, I would have to get rid of fear. So this whole stuff about we need fear for survival and all that, very short-sighted. And when it comes to business, financial survival, all that, people still rely on this stuff.
What I've realized, and this is one of the following definitions, is that fear is not it's not some type of aversion. Fear, the function of fear, there's no such thing as fear, first of all. The function of fear is kind of like a physiological response to get yourself ready for whatever's coming, for a situation that needs adrenaline. I don't want to say that fear doesn't exist, but fear is, I kind of describe it as a physiological response to get yourself ready, for that moment that needs adrenaline, right? And it's your body's automatic response, like your body is doing that for you.
Yeah.
You're unconsciously doing it.
But there's something in it that's fallacious, because I can experience all the benefits that people have with fear, but without fear. Instead, I can experience being pumped and focused and elated.
It's I think that it becomes fear when the person resists that physiological change, when they try to resist that adrenaline. Yeah, I think that's when it becomes fear.
Can be. I think there's also a certain kind of when you combine the adrenaline response with the kind of thinking that we've spoken against. So you've got people wasting energy on doubt that can't help them. they have no other options, let's say, but whether it's fight or flight, whichever they've got to do, and whether or not they can do it successfully is something that they shouldn't be spending time thinking about. They should be putting their energy into doing it. It's their only option, let's say, you know. But people do, and then the self-doubt and all this kind of stuff, and so you have a lot of strange fear responses. People freeze up,